Hi, I'm Elle McNicoll and I'm the author of Some Like It Cold, and in this video I'm going to be talking about how the romance genre has changed for a new generation. So I'm not that old. I have been reading romance since I was a teenager, but that wasn't that long ago. But even still, it has changed as a genre dramatically since then. And I think what drew me to romance originally was it was a place where you could read stories about women and girls if it was young adult romance, and you knew that probably they weren't going to be killed or hurt in any horrible way, and it was actually a really safe space and a really nice genre to kind of live in as a reader. But the thing I think has changed brilliantly over the last, I would say, maybe 10-20 years is romance has become much more diverse. I think romance was always the genre out of a lot of genres that was leading the way in diversity and inclusivity, maybe more than some other genres, but it has definitely become more diverse. You're more likely to find queer romance now in a bookshop table, and hopefully neurodivergent romance on a bookshop table. When I was coming up and reading romance as a young adult, it had a very strong tendency to be for one type of gaze. So it would always be very white, it would always be extremely neurotypical, and it would usually be straight and heteronormative. And that's what's great about the new generation of romance writers, is they want to see the lives we're all living reflected in the books. Of course we want escapism. I don't want to read a romance novel that reads exactly like my life. I would love some escapism and some aspiration, but I think we want that truth. We want to see the reality that we're all living in reflected in the prose, as well as some escapism and some aspiration. So maybe less white, neurotypical, straight, heteronormative people. And in my case, I definitely want to see more disability in romance fiction, and I'm really, really proud that Some Like It Cold is kind of charging ahead in young adult romance to do just that, and I hope that you pick up a copy as well. I think the conversation about romantic fiction and discovering romance fiction has changed enormously. I remember when I was reading romance fiction when I was a young adult, I didn't tell anybody. It was like a deep, dark secret, and I don't know why, because there's nothing shameful about it. But now there isn't any of that anymore. There's so much openness, there's so much dialogue about romance fiction, which is brilliant. And you're watching this on YouTube, which is super exciting. Some people might find their recommendations on Book Talk. I know that's where I've discovered some of my most favorite romance writers. People like Talia Hibbert, brilliant, and Helen Huang, brilliant autistic romance writers. And the whole conversation has changed in the way we talk about romance and in the volume in which we talk about it, as well as the mediums in which we talk about it too. I still can't believe this is a fact. You can go to an all-romance bookshop in my hometown in Edinburgh, my hometown, where I used to haunt the bookshops as a teenager for romance fiction, and there'd be one tiny little shelf in each bookshop. Now Edinburgh has its own all-romance fiction bookshop, Book Lovers, in Brunsfield, which I'm blown away by that. That's just like, it's like a revelation to me. And it's just a sign of how things have changed and how diversity and inclusivity has made this genre so much richer. And now we're all talking about it, and there is no shame and there is no secrecy, which I think is fantastic. I think the emotional value for romance novels and romantic fiction for readers is it's a genre, and genre has conventions, so we kind of know how things are going to end up, and it's the journey, it's getting there. In that sense, it can be very safe, it can be very inclusive, it can be very all-encompassing. And I also just think that everybody at somewhere in their core wants to be loved for who they are, wants to be accepted, wants someone to see all parts of them and love them anyway. I think that is the most human of human nature, and I think romance fiction is one of the best ways to celebrate that and to find that, and I really hope that's what readers get when they pick up Some Like It Cold.